Hello everybody, this is me Arpita Pal, your educator, and I am once again here with another lesson in the course in which we are revising the modern Indian history from Spectrum. So today we will be dealing with Indian National Congress, a topic which is quite important because you can expect direct questions from this topic as well. But before beginning, I have an important announcement for you all. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel Arpita Sharma Classes to have the daily Hindu news analysis and analysis of important international organizations, daily MCQs which will be beneficial for your prelims preparation, strategy classes for UPSC, CSE, polity classes, Indian polity topics classes, economics classes, economics MCQ series and many more. Just press the bell icon and never miss an update. Also, Arpita Sharma ma'am is taking live plus courses on Unacademy plus platform. So you can use the code Sharma20 and get 10% discount to reap the benefits. So let's begin. Now, Indian National Congress. Or INC. Now, INC, it is a very well known fact. It was established in the year 1885, but many times what confuses the aspirants or what confuses the learners is that was it established by an Indian or was it founded by a British general or a British resident. So it was founded by A.O. Hume, who was a Britisher. So Britisher A.O. Hume, he had founded he had laid the foundation of Indian National Congress in the year 1885. Now, what were the features of Indian National Congress? The first session of INC, it should be INC. The first session of INC took place at Gokuldas Tejpal Sanskrit College in December 1885. This session was attended by 72 delegates with the president as Vyomesh Chandra Banerjee or W.C. Banerjee. Right. So, W.C. Banerjee was the first president. He was not the founder of INC or he was not the founder of Indian National Congress. The founder of Indian National Congress was A.O. Hume, who was a Britisher, whereas the first president was W.C. Banerjee or Vyomesh Chandra Banerjee. And one important fact to be remembered is that Dadabhai Naoroji presided the Congress sessions thrice. He had been the president of Indian National Congress thrice or the president of Indian National Congress sessions thrice. This is an important fact which you should remember. In 1890, the Congress session or the session of the Indian National Congress was addressed by Kadambini Ganguly, who was the first woman graduate of Calcutta University. So, this is also an important fact that who was the first woman or who was Kadambini Ganguly. So, she was the first woman graduate of Calcutta University. Then many times there is a question that there is a safety valve theory or you must have read about the drain theory, safety valve theory. So, we will discuss about the safety valve theory, that what was the safety valve theory. Now, the safety valve theory was given by Lala Lajpat Rai. Now, see, the foundation of Indian National Congress was seen by different perspectives or by a different perspective by different people. Somebody had this different perspective about the formation, somebody thought or some liberals thought or some orthodox or conservative people thought something, some people saw something else. Similarly, Lala Lajpat Rai thought or Lala Lajpat Rai gave his opinion that was the safety valve theory or basically Indian National Congress was basically a safety valve. A Marxist historian who is Arpita, he said that it is a conspiracy theory, that the formation of Indian National Congress was basically a conspiracy to demoralize the nationalist movement and hence it was just a conspiracy against Indians. This is because, now see, foundation of Indian National Congress was laid by A.O. Hume. He was a Britisher. So, what many historians thought was that basically Britishers do not want to benefit Indians and hence they want to conspire against Indians. That is why they gave it the name of a conspiracy theory. Whereas Lala Lajpat Rai thought that okay, safety valve theory is like that, it is like our Indian National Congress is like a safety valve which will be or which is used as a precautionary measure or as a prevention against other difficulties for the Britishers. Hence, the Britishers have formed Indian National Congress so that the Indian nationalists or the Indian youth who are going to rise against the British or who are thinking of rising against the British do not do so or are unable to do so. So, it will be like a safety valve for Britishers. Some modern historians said that INC represented the politically conscious Indians, whereas Bipin Chandra, who was also a historian, he said that INC used Hume, A.O. Hume, as a lightning conductor. So what did Bipin Chandra say? He said that INC used A.O. Hume, that the members of INC used A.O. Hume as a lightning conductor for their own advantage, for their own benefit. So A.O. Hume was basically used by the INC or the people of INC. Now, two eras you will see in the Indian National Congress. One will be the era of moderates, which we will be discussing right now, or another will be the era of extremists. Who will be extremists? We will discuss it later on. So, the era of moderates we will discuss. The era of moderates lies between 1885 to 1905, and the important leaders or important moderates were Dadabhai Naoroji, W.C. Banerjee, S.N. Banerjee, and many more. What was their approach? Now, as the name suggests, that they were moderates. They were moderates, like they did not believe in very much harsh measures, or they did not believe in agitation and protest movements and revolts. They believed in prayer and petition. They thought that if we want to have a revolt, even if we want to have a revolt, that should be on the basis of constitution. That should be a constitutional agitation. We must go and abide by the constitution. We must not initiate revolutionary activities that are not moderates, but we should follow the path of prayer and petition or constitutional agitation. What was their main motive? Their main aim was to arouse consciousness and national spirit amongst the youth of the country. Also, they wanted to educate and unite people on common agendas like nationalism or education in the country or development of the country. And also they wanted to persuade the British government to introduce reform. Now, what is the difference between moderates and extremists is that moderates wanted to ask, or they wanted to persuade the British government to introduce reform. They did not themselves want to introduce reform. They did not think that, okay, we are fighting for our nation, so we must initiate and we must introduce some reforms by going against the British government. They thought, no, British government is the ruling government of the country, so we must persuade them to introduce the reform which will be beneficial for the nation as a whole. Now, what was the contribution of moderates? This is a direct question that has been asked in the prelims examination. I don't remember the year, but this has been asked, that who among the following was the economic critique of British imperialism? So the answer is Dadabhai Naoroji, R.C. Dutt and Dinshaw Wacha. They gave the drain theory. What was the drain theory? That India, everybody knows, was Sone ki chidiya, because India was very much rich in its resources, in monetary terms, etc. India was very rich, and all the money that India had was finally draining towards England, because all the money was going towards England by the Britishers, or was taken to England by Britishers. This was the drain theory. Also, the moderates opposed the transformation of a self-sufficient economy to a colonial economy. They thought that no, India is a self-sufficient economy. We do not depend on anybody else, because even at the time of Mughals or even at the time of Delhi Sultanate, India's GDP was around 20% of world's GDP. So if at that time during the Mughal Empire the GDP was so high, India's GDP was so high, then how can India be a dependent economy? It cannot be. Hence, they opposed, or the moderates opposed, the transformation of a self-sufficient economy to a colonial economy. They also thought, or they also believed, that the British rule was a major cause for India's economic backwardness and poverty. Why? Because of the drain theory. It is all interconnected, because the Britishers, whatever resources were here, whatever money was generated from here, that was taken from India to England. Hence, what did it result in? It resulted in poverty in India, or poor Indians, because all the money was taken away from India. Hence, we were becoming poor and the Britishers were getting richer and richer day by day. Also, the industries were collapsed, and many such things happened or were done by Britishers, which led to poverty in India. So, a major cause of poverty in India was, or economic backwardness of India was, the British rule. Also, constitutional reforms and propaganda and legislature. The Imperial Legislative Council, which was formed under the Indian Councils Act of 1861, had very few Indians. Not many Indians were there, it had few Indians. But those Indians as well, most of them were loyal to the government. So what did the INC demand, or the Indian National Congress demand? It demanded the greater participation of Indians in councils, because if we are in the policy making, then because suppose I am an Indian, and if I know the ground reality, I know what resources are required by my people, what are the conditions I am living in, what are the things that will be beneficial for my people. So I know my country better, hence I should be a part of the policy making, I should be a part of the government. Hence INC demanded that Indians should have a greater participation in councils. Also, there should be more financial powers to the council, which was earlier not present. They were also dissatisfied with the Indian Councils Act of 1892 because their demands were not met. The demands of the INC were not met as in the Indian Councils Act of 1892. Hence, the Indian National Congress was a bit dissatisfied with the same. Thus, what slogan did they give? They said that there will be no taxation without representation. What does it mean? It means that no taxes will be given, or no taxes will be paid unless we are given a proper representation in the councils. Because if we are not allowed to represent, we won't be giving any kind of taxes to the British government. This was the slogan. They also campaigned for administrative reforms. So these were the constitutional reforms and the reforms in legislature. Now comes the administrative reforms. What were the administrative reforms? They wanted Indianization of government service on economic, moral and political grounds. Also, judiciary to be separated from executive, and they also criticized the tyrannical bureaucracy which mainly consisted of the British government, or the people of the British government, or the people who are loyal to the British government. Hence, they wanted they criticized this tyranny of the bureaucracy of British government. Also, the aggressive policy against the towards the international borders, that is against Burma, Afghanistan, tribals of Northwest, they were not liked by the people of India, or not liked by the members of INC. So they criticized this aggressive policy of the British government towards our neighbors. They did not like it, and hence they also wanted an increase in expenditure on education, because a country can grow if the people are well educated. So on education, expenditure should be increased. That was their demand. And education, what kind of education? Elementary and technical education. And also expenditure should be increased on health and sanitation of the people of India. Also, the Indian labor which has gone abroad should be treated nicely, or should be treated in a better way, which the people of India were not treated. So they demanded that in case the Indian people are going abroad and working there as a labor, then they should be provided better treatment. They should not be discriminated against. This was the main demand. Then protection of civil rights, like the right to speech, right to association, right to free press. These were the demands. Also, why did they demand this? Because after the arrest of Bal Gangadhar Tilak and the arrest and deportation of Natu brothers without trial, people thought that our rights of the right to free speech, right to association, right to free press, they were being violated, and hence we must protect our civil rights, or the civil rights of Indians must be protected. Now, the early nationalists basically represented progressive forces, and they created a wide national awakening amongst the people of India, and thus united the Indians against one common enemy, that was the British. Against British, we were united, because ultimately we had only one enemy. We should not fight amongst each other. That was the main agenda. We must unite against a common enemy, that was the British. They also trained people in political work and exposed the exploitative character of the government. How did they expose this? I already told you, the drain theory given by Dadabhai Naoroji, or they also were very much, or they were the economic critique of the country, that they realized that the poverty and the economic distress in India was basically because of the British government, or because of the British people. Hence, this exploitative nature of the government was also exposed in front of the people. They also created a solid base for militant-based movement in the upcoming years. See, now what does it mean that they created a solid base for a militant-based movement in the following years? If you know that in case of the extremists, which you will be under, or which you will understand in the upcoming lessons, that they were moderates and extremists. So extremists were basically, or I can explain you on a white screen as well. Now see, So these were the moderates and extremists. The moderates were basically the ones who who believed in the constitutional methods and who believed in prayer and petition, whereas the extremists were the ones who believed in revolutionary ideas. They realized that no, we cannot work with the government on constitutional grounds. It's high time that we should now begin, or we should now start moving towards the revolutionary movement. These were the basic differences between moderates and extremists, which you will understand, or you must have read about in various other lessons of the modern history. So I'll stop here, and in next lesson we will be discussing some more important topics. Thank you.